as advertised, I want to do a little bit of chair yoga propping today. And if you are severely adverse to the chair yoga, you can modify, paradoxically, by not using the chair and just doing these things without. However, I found that a good use of the chair is worth its weight in gold. And it can often help some sticky fascia or some injured bits and pieces open up. To give you a very out-of-the-gate example of what you often see in yoga classes or experience in your own bodies as one of these yoga postures that should be doing a lot of good, and it's probably the most well-known of them all, downward dog. So you see, if you go to most yoga classes or your teacher like myself and Shireen, you see these people in downward dog positions that are actually hurting them, particularly their shoulders, because you just have them pop into it and it looks like this. Their legs are stiff, so all the weight looks like a high push-up position or some sort of in between. They can't get back and extend their arms forward, even if you have them bend the knees quite a bit. It's a huge problem because over the course of a couple weeks, months, years, they destroy their shoulders. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with. And before we even do our pranayama practice, I'm going to have you grab your chair because this will open up our rib cage, lungs, so that when we sit in a moment, that we can have an open set of lungs. So you're going to face your chair. This is, part of honoring your chair. Bow to your chair. And before you even come into downward dog, sit in your virasana on your shins. Use a yoga block or something under your seat if you need to, and just take a few breaths. Feeling the air come in and out. Getting a sense of left to right as you close your eyes and simply listen to me. Shifting to the right sitting bone, the right shin, and then drifting over to the left. Now, I didn't see whether Doreen was here, but I know that Virasana is hard for her. So you could be cross-legged. And then you're going to open your eyes. And so what is the precursor to downward dog for most yoga practices? It's child's pose. But here again, child's pose can be a disaster. So what we're going to do is come up to our knees, walk our knees back, and just start to sink down. Keep our hands on the chair, palms down on the outsides of the seat of the chair. And then you're going to just drop your head down within your arms, sit your hips back, and either breathe in static, or if you're having one of those mornings, you're going to inhale, come up like a seal, lifting your hips off of your heels, pushing your palms down into the seat of the chair and looking forward, and exhale, start to sink back as if you're moving to child's pose. And just you can come up and down using motion. I talked about this last week in therapeutics. Some people like yin yoga and holds, static holds. Now, of course, if you're finding your knees, your shins are a little sensitive, bony like mine, you can take a blanket or a towel under your knees and just drop eventually down into this hovering child's pose and feel your low back billow out behind you.
And keep extending your arms forward, pushing the palms down on the chair.
Inhale, come all the way up to your knees, walk forward again to your chair, and move the chair close to your hips. So pull it right into your frontal hips. Put your palms on that seated chair again, pushing down. You can even turn your fingers out a little bit to externally rotate your arms. And now here what we want to do is almost like we're pushing ourselves out of a swimming pool, lift from under the armpits, the subscaps, get the upper arm bones, humerus bones to knit into the side ribs. Just push down to lift up. Ah. You want to slide the chair a little forward, let the hips push into that front of the chair. It's kind of like doing Cobra upright or the preparation for Ustrasana camel. Spread your toes and dig them into the mat. Again, pushing down, not too much. Open the collarbones. And exhale. We're going to sit back down to Virasana again. Now, one last thing before we attempt our downward dog. Very long-winded intro to downward dog. We're going to say our prayers on our chair. So I've got a nice pad on my chair, but if you don't, you can put your towel on it. Walk your knees back so you're about a right angle between your upper legs and torso, and then you're gonna put your palms together like you're praying. So you gotta think back to those days if you've given up theism, and place your forehead now right on the front of the seat. Drop your head, drop your hips, and scoop your belly in just a little bit, Uddiyana Bandha, to flare out the low back. Hips are not getting all the way to the heels. And breathe. I like my toes tucked under here. And all I'm going to do is open up again the collarbones, the subscapularis under the armpits, the triceps to lats. And don't get violent here with yourself. Just sink the hips down as you exhale. And breathe open each set of lungs, ribs as you inhale. So we're trying to get that length and space between the rib cage and the pelvis that we are going to establish in our downward dog. And then we're going to come up, walk our knees toward our chair, and stand up. So you can curl your toes under, lift yourself up, place your hands on top of the chair, create a flat back. So you can bend your knees a lot. And again, I'm using my arms as a straight arm push. Straight arm push, flat back. But guess what? If you wanted to play around with it, you could flat back with your forehead on the back of the chair. And what does this do? Well, it allows you to kind of not work in the back of the neck so much. You can tilt your head, your neck a little, feel the ideal position of the head, and then walk back a little bit and place your head down on the seat of the chair, bending the knees sufficiently to make it so, feet hip width, and maybe you need to keep your hands kind of supporting you, or drop your fingertips to the floor, take forward fold. Keep your knees quite bent to begin with, and again, let the low back, the fascia around the kidneys spread, and you breathe into it. Feel the feet, the soles of the feet, stretching. Move the toes around, feel the hips connecting to the feet. Maybe shift left and right.
And relax your shoulders. So if you want to take it deeper, slide your chair away, hold your opposite elbows, and let your head dangle down. And now you might feel that release in the cervical spine, and the discs might give you a nice little opening like an accordion. Or advanced students can cup the back of their skull with their hands and gently, keeping the knees bent, let the head be tractioned for a few more breaths. So those are all the modifications for all levels. And then the knees come up through chair pose, placing your hands on the chair again. So here we are like a ski jumper. Then we're pushing our straight arms down, and then we stand. We should be ready for downward dog now. So we're going to walk toward our chair and place our hands on the top of the seat back. And then we're going to walk back and bend our knees just as we were doing moments ago, coming up from the ground. Now you have to imagine that you're a downhill skier here. You're going to sit down into your hips, look toward your arms, and press into the top of the chair. Inhale, exhale, straighten the legs, drop the head within the arms. Let's try that again. Maybe you need to walk your feet a little further back or forward. Inhale, bend your knees, ski jumper, and pressing down into the top of the chair. Exhale, drop your head within the arms, and straighten the legs. And just start to move here. Inhale and exhale. And similar to what we did before. Again, some people like motion, and some people like static. I like to do about 3 or 4 little vinyasa movements, and then I find my static hold. Now, if your shoulders here are still feeling, well, wonky, if you've got a chair like me, most of you do, you can move your grip from the top to the side of the chair. So take a peek if that's confusing. And that'll externally rotate the shoulders, the upper arm bones a little. And that's another option or variation. Your gaze is back at your big toes, eventually toward your knees. Then you bend your knees. If you've really gone as far back with the feet, place the hands on the seat of the chair. Take your entry, Utkatasana entry, using chair, and then exhale, stand. Okay, so just in case you didn't see that, what I did was I grabbed the chair on the sides like that. That's another option to the placement of the hands on top of the chair. Let's all try that. We're going to grab our sides of our chair. We're going to go into ski jumper. Draw our belly and inhale and exhale. Extend. Again, you can pulse. These are nice little leg warm-ups, or you can just hold. When you eventually hold, stay, breathe, support the low back with your Uddiyana Bandha core, drawing in. And if you're grabbing with your hands around the side of the chair, actually start to flange the wrists, gooseneck the wrists, like you're curling the fists around like a vine, the sides of the chair. Exhale, bend the knees, place the hands on top of the chair, push down, and then release. Okay? So you should be warmed up in a preliminary way that we just sit down for a second on our chairs and place our hands on our legs. Now, when I learned meditation, this is the way the teacher taught it. And you can see that I'm not on my back of my chair at all.
So I can feel, and when I'm looking at my screen now, I can kind of see my alignment. It's not pitched forward, it's not slouching, it's not rolled back. So it's actually a great exercise to use a chair that's comfortable and sit in the front of the seat top. Relax the muscles of the low back a little bit. And let's just do one round of pranayama. Inhale, exhale 20 times. Inhale, exhale. Close your eyes, don't look at me. Now the radiation, so to speak, of doing the preliminary movements, in particular down dog, should allow you to feel the opening of the ribs in a much more delightful way. So you've got a fuller breath coming in and out of the body 20 times. Let the throat relax. Let even the back ribs feel the opening of the diaphragm, as if you had angel wings. The ribs, the scapula spreading in the back, and exhale, releasing. So really working a dynamic exposition of breath. Can you even feel the breath feeding into the spaces between the spine and the ribs? And if you have sticky parts, so Shireen, for example, if you still have that left shoulder blade adhesion, breathe into that. Open that with your breath now. One more inhale. Exhale, release. Pause. You did your pranayama well. You're already feeling that nice, almost spaciness of oxygenation. And now you sit in it. Feel the soles of the feet, the sitting bones melt. Feel the shoulders melt with the skin of the palms. Soft. When you need to, inhale, and the whole ladder of the ribs opens all the way from bottom to top. Hold and release. Now we're going to take a little twist, and the way you can do it is to turn yourself sideways and to your left. Take your left forearm on the back of the chair. You're going to put your right palm right outside your right hip and press into the hip. Hip presses back. Inhale, lift through that left armpit. And I'm hooking my left forearm around the back of the chair like I'm going to hug it. So I have dynamic pressure of the hands, and then exhale, I just release. So right palm pressing into chair and right hip. Left forearm cradling the back of the chair. Relax your throat now, relax into it. And feel the pogo stick action of the inhale. Pressing down to the tailbone, pressing the pelvis into the chair. You have biofeedback. Both sit bones are pogo stick pressing on inhale, even as you have the rotation to the left. So there's two actions, and this is very simple exposition of the twist, and yet you can feel the points of contact and you can control it. Your pelvis is level. You feel the sit bones, maybe even the soles of the feet. The feet are pushing into the mat as you inhale, and then exhale, releasing. Inhale, push the feet down. All you rowers, to push your sit bones down. And then you rotate. Exhale, release. One more. So I can vinyasa this, I can static it, but I always have the actions working with the breath. And then release. Can we try the other side? Because it was so much fun to do chair yoga. So here we are, I got the seat back, my right side, I'm gonna cradle it. And again, you gotta find the right chair for you. If your arm is way up and your right shoulder is elevated, then you have to modify. And now what I'm gonna do is to take my left hand and press into the left hip. If you have really long arms, you might be able to grab under the chair, but I don't quite have that. So I've got a right angle with my upper and lower legs. Press, inhale, rotation. Exhale, release. Inhale and exhale. Work your breath. And what's going on with the feet? Push into the ground, transfer up into the sit bones, and release. So that the pelvis is not rotating. Or as Barbara Baina, one of my teachers, used to say, the cork of the wine bottle twists, but not the bottle, not the base. So you can breathe and move or just breathe in static. If you're breathing in static, however, don't get tight in the throat and the head and the shoulders. Really important. My feet are dynamic. My legs are engaged as if I were doing this pose. How? Like this. So let's go back to seated and take our feet wide like a Chinese empress, dowager, and place our palms. So this would be true goddess pose, right? Here's goddess pose. If you're hardcore, just come pop right up into that and hold for 20 minutes. But here it is on the chair. And what's the value of this? Is I just rock back and forth, inhaling and exhaling into extension or arch, lifting my toes off the mat, and exhale, pushing my toes into the mat. Inhale and exhale. And if you've ever taken a gyrokinesis class, this is what they're all about. And what is the value of this weird thing? Well, I can feel my adductors opening as I come gliding forward. The front of the sit bones, I can feel the back body as I go back. I'm moving my pelvis, I'm moving my shoulder heads, and I'm moving my spine to make it more of a circular exposition to show you the side view. And it's like a wave. Inhale, the wave, press, exhale, push into your knees and roll back. And everything's moving. So this may seem very simple, but it's elaborate. And all the actions you're able to do, lifting the toes, pushing back, rolling the shoulders open as you glide forward, rolling the shoulders back, and it just should feel good to open up more of the spine and the ribs. I don't care if you go fast or slow, that's up to you. Now,
we're going to start to take our pose forward. So same goddess pose, you're going to maybe just put your forearms down on your knees. Like you've had a long day. Maybe you need a yoga block, or maybe you can just place your palms down. And how's that low back feeling now? So if it's starting to pinch on you, back out of it. And of course, advanced people can start to walk the hands further back toward the heels, drop the head a little more. But go easy, it's your morning body. And the outer hips are getting touched. And walk back with the hands, one hand to one knee, the other hand to the other. Now we're going to rotate to the front in a warrior one-ish exposition on our chairs. So I'm going to stretch my left leg back. With the foot turned in, I'm going to stretch my right knee forward. Can I get both hands on that front knee? Push down, lift the chest. And just use your breath to infiltrate all the way down into the back, all the way into that outer left hip. Now some of you can come down into your forearms like this and place the forearms and the elbows pretty close together over the front knee. So that's for the advanced folks to be able to lengthen through that back leg. Otherwise, you're staying upright. And then we're going to bend the back knee. We're going to switch. We just roll on our chairs over to the left. Kick and slide. This right leg out. Maybe it doesn't get straight. And then we rotate the body over to that left knee and place palm on palm. Push. And breathe. So don't overdo it, and if it's too hard on your back for whatever reason, you can modify to a crescent lunge. We're going to do that in a second anyway, and just lift the back heel off the ground. Advanced folks could take both forearms down and lay them over the front leg, the left knee, and by leaning forward, you can extend through that right leg a little more. Otherwise, you stay upright and then come back to center. Okay, and then from here, we're going to take a forward fold with the wide feet, and you can bring your chair underneath you like that, through your legs. And maybe, so take a peek first, maybe I can get my butt, I'm going to give you a side view here, to have some feedback on the back of the chair. So here it is. And it's going to prevent me from kicking my butt back like that. And I can lay, perhaps, some of you, your chest, top of your chair. Drop your head. But some people, and this is variable, could hold the chair, front chair legs, cradle them in the forearms. Some could reach the arms through the back chair legs. So go to your own measure, or others are just staying modest. When you want to come out of it, you bend your knees and just sit down on your chair, walk your hands up to the front of the chair, and come up seated. And now we'll stand and do our downward dog again. Now, mind you, that I've done this, a lot of this sequence against the wall for those that don't like chairs for some reason. So a lot of the standing poses we're going to do now including chair dog, could be done against the wall. And I'll offer that as an option. So remember your chair dog now. You're going to place the hands on top of the chair, palms either down or grabbing the side arms of the seat back. Bend your knees like a ski jumper. Inhale and exhale. Straighten the legs, maybe slide or walk the feet back. And breathe, open the chest, the shoulder blades. You can keep the knees bent and just get length. And the knees again. Place the hands on the seat. Here's our Utkatasana. And then standing. Now let's step toward our chair and take the right foot back to Warrior One. Now we had Warrior One moments ago on the chair itself, but now we don't have it. So we have to imagine that we've got this chair under our sit bones. If you're not bashful, you can get in touch with yourself, as I say, and grab your seat with your hands and just feel the sit bones as if they could sit into a chair. Okay, how they feel? Most people hands to hips, okay, that's fine, because everybody's embarrassed about their ischial tuberosities, but here I've got to grab on the seat of my pants like I'm on a sling. I sit into my hands and I lift my chest. And how does that feel? I'm talking about the yoga pose, all you naughty people. And then once I have the seat of my pants, like I'm in one of those child swings, you know, where you've got a little bucket or a swing you're sitting in, then you launch the arms. Feels really good, so go ahead and extend through that back leg now. Okay, and let's place the hands down on the seat of the chair. And you can move your front foot, your left foot a little bit back toward you if you want. Straighten both legs, so Parsvottanasana on chair. So we're creating a flat back. How wide between the feet? The distance lengthwise is up to you. The more advanced you are, longer your legs may be wider, but don't go too crazy. I'm going to just roll the hips into symmetry. The right hip rolling forward, the left hip back. See that little movement? I'm working in a flat back on the top of my chair. Inhale. I could be working on top of the chair. Now, if you're in a rush to dive down to the floor, be my guest. Forehead could go on top of the chair, fingertips to the ground, and move the feet apart. But I, with my morning body, tend to be more cautious, and I just work extension of the arms, extension of the legs, breathing into the long spine. It feels good. Now let's lift the back heel, the right heel up, and then set the right knee down. Low lunge. Go ahead and pad your right knee with something if you want. Now we've got our right knee right up against the chair. Make sure you can all see. So we're pulling the chair with the hands now into our left shin like that. And lifting the chest. If it's too hard to grab the chair, just place your hands as we did moments ago, palm on the front knee. Now what we're going to do is reach for the chair top with the right hand and just take a little rotation to the left. Push down with that right palm as you rotate the chest to the left. Move the pelvis forward. Remember, you're thinking length. And if you were For those that like the wall, I've done this move here with the right palm on the wall instead. But the chair will work. Let's return the hands to square off on the seat of the chair. Let's curl the back toes under. And let's come on up to our warrior one again, see how that's feeling. And then open to warrior two. So, how are we going to do a warrior two with our chair? Different ways. We can stand here and once again find our sitting bones with our hands and sit into our hands, literally. And they told you that you shouldn't sit on your hands growing up. Well, here it is. Now, also, as I've shown you this adjustment of pushing the palms into the front of the legs, the adductors, pressing the pelvis forward. Reverse warrior inhale. Now we're going to take our side angle with the left hand on top of the seat of the chair. And reach, reach, reach through those right fingertips as you reach through that right heel. Open it up. You can bend that lower elbow that's on the chair a little bit. But don't lose that sense of the sit bones that you grabbed and the press of the front of the pelvis as well with the palms that you had. And what you're going for is length. Inhale, reach up, straighten the front leg, Trikonasana. Open the arms like wings, inhale, left hand to chair. You can bend the front knee a little bit. So if I'm a beginner, this is my happy place. But if I want to take it further, I open that right arm. And this is a rotation, as I've told you many times. And just like we did the chair twist, I don't want my pelvis to move with me into this twist. I want to keep it planted, and then the mid-back opens. Think of it more like stretching the arms apart, like you had a bungee, opening your wings rather than trying to throw the right arm behind you. Bend into the front knee, inhale, come up to your warrior two. Exhale, hands to hips, and then square off to Prasarita Padottanasana with the feet together. Okay, should we try the other side? If you're feeling jumpy, bend your knees, spring. If not, don't worry. Okay, now warrior one with the chair. So we've got the right knee up against the seat of the chair. We can get the hands to push into the seat top. Now, how about grabbing your glutes? How are those puppies feeling, as one of my teachers used to say. So the pelvis gets into a lot of trouble in the warriors because it can shift around. But if I'm just lifting and supporting my pelvis, it feels really good. Now I'm in my little swing set. I launch the arms. And all is well because I've given myself literally a lift and a set, chiropractic set of the pelvis. And then breathe. Stretching the soles of the feet apart, stretching the feet apart from one another. One more inhale. Place the hands down on the seat of the chair. Straighten the front leg to set up for forward fold over straightened legs, known as Parsvottanasana. But don't be in a rush to dive in. Spread the feet apart like opening rabbit antenna. And a little rotation of the hips so that you're rolling that right hip back and the left hip forward. I can work here with my breath happily ever after, or I can place the head down on the chair, the hands down on the floor, work the hip rotation, work the extension of the legs. Any variation is wonderful. If you're balanced, you can grab the legs of the chair in front of you and hug the chair with your arms. But as I used to, when my other yoga teachers used to say, people dig their own grave. So as deep as you go down, you have to be careful you can come back out of that grave. So let's bring the hands up to the top of the chair again. Seat of the chair, lift the back heel and drop the left knee down. So we're in low lunge again. You can pad your left knee if you want. And I'm going to move my chair so you see me. And if your arms are long enough, you can grab the chair, pull it toward you to find counter resistance, lifting the chest, sinking the hips forward. We're not going for a deep lunge like this, or plunk. I'm pulling against my lunge. Now, I can either keep my right hand on the chair, I can put on my knee. I'm going to try to stretch my left arm forward on top of the chair, like we did down dog, and I'm going to rotate just slightly to the right. And breathe. Little scoop of the belly in, set the tailbone down. I'm telling you, if you get these actions right, compressing, we're using isometrics. Doesn't matter if you're here or the fancy person who looks like this. It's the same thing. I've got the work here safely. And in control. Okay, let's square up. Let's go ahead and launch our Warrior 1 again, and then open out to Warrior 2. Now, the wonderful thing about having a chair, especially if you're against a wall like this, is that you can push your right shin bone into the seat of that chair and get connection. If you don't have that, don't worry. We'll reverse our warrior. Inhale, left arm down, right arm up. And then just lean forward, place the right hand on the chair. So I can really still feel my pelvis here. I can move it. Extension, flexion, get the right mix for me. Before I launch the left arm up and over toward the wall. I can bend the right elbow, I can take it deeper. And breathe into it. I'm going for extension. Inhale, come up, set up the triangle pose, spread your wings. So this opening the arms is going to be replicated as we dive in, again, right into the chair. You can take your left hand to your hip to start, as we teachers often tell you, so that the wine bottle of the hips is still anchored. Now, as you launch and open the left arm, you're not going to take that left hip with you. But open the arms apart, push into the chair, reach for the sky. Spread your feet apart, open the starfish. Trikonasana. Inhale, come up, feet to parallel. And from here, you can take a forward fold with your chair in front of you. So taking your Prasarita now, for those that didn't like the first way, here's the modification. Feet wide, hands on chair. You can work here. You can work on forearms. Or you can work down to the ground with your head on the chair. So pick which one works for you. Take 10 breaths while I grab some water. careful when you're coming up, but there again, the chair saves you. If you're all the way down on the ground in a deep, wide-legged forward fold, and just to show you what the advanced folks are probably doing while I'm not watching, is taking their heads down, grabbing this chair, legs with their hands, making a forearm structure that they bring back toward them. When I come out of this, I've got to slide the chair forward, put the hands on it, flat back, exhale, soften the knees, and then safely come up. So that's another use of the chair, is that it saves you from ruining your low back coming out of deep, rounded positions. Let's take another downward dog using the chair, or if you prefer not to, now's your time to give up the chair. But there's also a in-between situation where now instead of the back seat of the chair, we use the front, the lower part, and we take our ski jumper position, looking toward our hands, sliding the chair forward, and then we straighten our legs. And again, you can bend straight. The value of this, if you were to sit for a second in Malasana to watch, is that if I've opened my legs by now in a nice way, you start to realize that a good downward dog has very little pressure on the arms. What do I mean by that? Here I am using my chair to open my body, inhaling, bending the knees, exhaling. So if I wanted to come into regular downward dog now, my legs are open, I just transfer one set of fingertips to the ground, the other set. Now I'm on fingertip downward dog. There's no weight on my shoulders at all. Bend my knees, walk my hands back to my feet, which you can all do and take a forward fold. And let's sit at the back of the mat with the toes out like a frog and sit in Malasana. So what if even Malasana is not really working? Well, then you're in your chair doing what we did initially. Sitting here, taking your forearms on top of your knees and coming forward. And that's it. But even those folks that are relegated to that modification now, if we put the chair in the back of the mat, take our hands to the side of the chair, can you do this? Can you take a Malasana with your palms on the front corners of the seat and the elbows bent? And try to pull the upper arm bones a little closer together, lift the chest. Inhale, lift up, and sit your hips back on the chair. Exhale. Inhale, slide forward. Exhale, sink down. And you can see what I'm having you do now. Go easy if you've got a shoulder issue. I'm having you start to strengthen your triceps in a very modest way. As we attempt to open the low back as you descend, but we're controlling with the arms, and then we come back. Those that go to the gym every week, of course, can just do your triceps extension. But it's kind of nice to do this part. And now we're in our chair again, and we kick our legs forward. Look at that, and now we'll take a strap and do the absolute laziest and best forward fold of them all. chair Paschimottanasana. So you're on the chair, make sure it's not going to slip. Of course, it's on your mat or against the wall, and you rein in the legs. You can bend your knees, it's okay, and start to lift the chest. Now, just pushing the heels down into the ground could be enough. And that's a nice dynamic stretch. Now, advanced folks, sure, if you want to start to sneak your hands further down, or fingertips to the floor, but keep the feet parallel, keep the heels pushing down into the mat, even if your knees are bent. And your sit bones are keeping you honest. So if you've really rolled to the front of the sit bones, you gotta roll back to the back of the sit bones. Well, people that are show-offs can place their heads on their shins, reach back to the chair, put arms like so. But you go easy. It feels a little bit like a plow pose. How about a few more of those dips before we continue, just to make sure everything's set. And we'll sit all the way down for a second, have our chair behind us. Now we'll take the upper body portion of Paschimottanasana and kick our legs forward. Bring the chair right into our shoulder blade tips and hug the legs of the chair to lift the chest. Flex the toes back, breathe. And again, if you want to take your forward fold now and see how it feels. You can take that to your degree, with or without the strap. As I've always encouraged you recently to just lift dynamically up against the down pressure of your legs. Let's do a couple more. Hopefully you're having fun. So what if you're just not a great forward folder? How about this? Put the chair, your legs, and just lean forward like that. Put the forehead down. Even having the forearms down, slightly pushing into the seat of the chair, allows you to open your armpits. And you can really monitor the feedback of the low back here, or if you have a client or a person in your house you're trying to teach some yoga to. Perfect. You can do Janu Shirshasana the same way as you pull the right foot into the left knee, and then we just lean onto our chair like that. Or that's too boring and the chair comes forward, and you grab the chair, place your forehead on the chair like that, and hold the arms on the side. I can still control it here, or I can take somewhere in between, doing what we did in our warriors, pushing the hands down into the seat, lifting the chest, and pushing that straight left leg into the ground. Switch sides. Again, take your modification that works. If you're feeling very yin-ish, forearms down. You get the left foot in the inseam of the right leg, and you just breathe softly into the fascia, which maybe you're just having a bad week. If things are going well, however, maybe you come forward with the chair. Keep the collarbones smiling as you push down. Maybe can go a little bit further. Grab the sides of the chair, embrace. But to simply dive in, as some of us can still do, and place your head down on your shin is an uncontrolled movement, which eventually risks despair. All right, one more. Upavishta Konasana. Same thing, we just spread the legs apart, flex the toes, and bring the chair in toward us, forearms. Toes point straight up to the sky, so they're neither rotating behind us too much and overstretching the adductors, and not pointing forward, but a nice balance of the inner and the outer hip, right in the seam here. Then the forearms are down on the chair. The legs are pushing down. And then you breathe into it. Oh, you can go further? Well, then you try going further. Breath after breath, it's like moving a sandbar, and you just have to watch not only the low back in this posture, but the interior of the inner thighs. So the pectineus muscle, just like a violin string, you don't want to tighten the violin so much it snaps. And then finally, we gather the knees, bring them together, and begin to unwind onto our backs. Those that want, since we've done all the forward folding, that want a plow pose and know how to do it, that's up to you. Otherwise, let's take a couple minutes releasing to Shavasana, allowing the limbs to release to the ground, give the shoulders a little shake, give the hips a little shake, the spine a little snake-like shake, like you're on one of those automatic pulsating beds in the cheap hotels. Used to be able to put a quarter into. And you just pulse the body and release. Get any disturbances in your low back before you exit from Shavasana. Just hug your knees briefly into your shoulders. Then set the feet down. Roll to one side to come up seated. And then we'll close off this chair yoga session with time to spare. So just check it out and feel. You could be sitting in your chair still. A lot of people can't sit in a authentic, what they think of as an authentic yoga pose.